All right, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the classic business blunders, things that can really trip people up when they're first getting started,
Yeah.
and maybe even some things that, folks who've been doing this for a while can sometimes overlook.
Right.
So, we're going to be using common mistakes in business practice and how to avoid them as our main source for this deep dive.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to breaking down this source material. I think it's got a lot of great insights.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just getting into it, what really stood out to me is how important strategic planning is. Like, it's almost like if you don't have a strategic plan, it's kind of like,
So, like, imagine building a house without a blueprint.
yeah,
It's chaotic, right?
yeah.
You don't know what you're doing. You're just, like, throwing things together and hoping for the best.
Yeah, you end up with a bunch of crooked walls and, like, a door that opens into a wall.
Exactly, yeah. A strategic plan is that blueprint for your business. It gives you a clear roadmap to follow.
So, I've heard of SMART goals. Like, how does that fit into the whole strategic planning thing?
So SMART goals are a great way to actually take that vision and break it down into manageable chunks.
Okay, so, like, make it less overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let's say your vision is to be the top dog in sustainable coffee in your region. A SMART goal might be, increase market share by 15% in the next year
Okay.
by partnering with like 50 local businesses.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a vague goal. It's very
Right, right. Like, you've got to have something that you can actually measure.
exactly, and you can track. And each goal should connect back to your big overarching vision.
Gotcha. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think, a lot of people, they may think, okay, I got my strategic plan in place, but then they totally forget about the financial piece.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that can really set you up for, some tough times.
Well, poor financial management, that's a quick way for a business to go belly up.
Yeah.
It's like running a marathon with no training or nutrition.
Yeah, you're just going to hit the wall.
Yeah, you're going to crash and burn.
So what are some of the financial mistakes that people often make when they're starting out, or maybe even if they've been at it for a while?
Well, one of the biggest traps I see people falling into is relying too much on credit.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like an easy solution.
I'll just put it on the credit card.
Yeah, exactly. But that high interest debt can pile up so fast.
Like, it seems manageable at first,
Yeah.
but then suddenly you're drowning.
It's like using your credit card to pay for groceries every week.
Yeah.
You might be able to swing it for a little while, but eventually it's going to catch up with you.
And I think, too, it's really important to diversify those income streams, right?
Oh, absolutely. Having those different streams of income coming in, it's like having a safety net.
Yeah,
If one dries up, you've still got others to keep you afloat.
exactly.
And there's so many options out there beyond just traditional bank loans. You got crowdfunding, you got angel investors. Think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about the plan, we talked about finances, but what about the people? Like, how does hiring and personnel management fit into all of this?
Well, I mean, you can have the greatest plan in the world and all the money in the bank.
Right.
But if you don't have a good team, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah, they're the ones who make everything happen.
Right, exactly. And one thing I see businesses messing up is the work environment. Like, they don't pay enough attention to creating a positive, supportive atmosphere.
It's not just about the salary and benefits.
No, it's about respect, open communication, and opportunities for growth.
Feeling valued.
Yes. It's like, you need fertile soil to grow a strong plant. That positive invert, that's the fertile soil for your business.
Yeah, I love that analogy.
It helps your employees thrive.
So we talked about planning, the money side of things, the people, but I think another big thing is like, what happens when things change? Like, how do businesses deal with the fact that the world is constantly evolving?
Well, that's where resistance to change comes in. It can be a real killer.
Right.
Think about companies like Blockbuster, right?
Oh, yeah.
They were so stuck in their ways,
Didn't adapt?
didn't adapt, and they got left behind.
Yeah, and I think, change can be scary, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
it's like, I think that's why a lot of people, they kind of they resist it. They stick with what they know.
Right, right. But you got to remember, the business world is like a river. It's always flowing.
Yeah.
If you try to stand still, you're going to get swept away.
Okay, so what are some ways that businesses can, like, get better at embracing change? Like, is there anything they can actually do?
Absolutely. It starts with fostering that mindset of like curiosity and continuous learning.
Always be learning.
Yeah. Encourage your team to try new things, to experiment a little.
To not be afraid to fail, even.
Right. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. you know?
I love that. So I think we've covered a lot of great ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yep.
We've talked about the importance of strategic planning, getting those finances in order, building a strong team, and being open to change.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for part two, where we'll be diving into even more common business mistakes and how to steer clear of them.
Sounds good. All right, so we're back and ready to uncover some more of these business blunders that can really sneak up on you.
Yeah, I am ready for more. What's next on the list?
Well, let's talk about communication.
Oh, communication. That seems pretty straightforward,
I
right?
think so, but you'd be surprised how many businesses struggle with this.
Oh, I know. I've definitely seen it firsthand.
It's like that game of telephone.
Yeah.
The message starts out clear, but by the time it gets to the end of the line, it's completely garbled.
Totally. And then everyone's confused, frustrated, and mistakes happen.
Exactly. So one of the most important things is to create a culture of like open and honest communication.
Okay, so like no one's afraid to speak up if they see a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about talking, it's about listening too.
Yeah, active listening.
Active listening, yeah. Make sure your team feels heard and understood.
Right, because when people feel like their opinions matter, they're going to be more invested in the company's success.
Absolutely. Now, it's not just about internal communication either.
Right, you got to talk to your customers too.
You got to know your market. We touched on this a bit earlier, but it's so important it's worth repeating.
Okay, so remind us why it's so crucial.
Well, if you don't understand your target audience, how are you going to create marketing that resonates with them?
It's like trying to sell, I don't know, like snowshoes in Hawaii.
Exactly. You got to know what your customers need, what their pain points are.
And then you can show them how your product or service is the solution.
Exactly. Okay, now let's talk about something a little more tempting.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The allure of quick profits.
Oh, yeah, that can be hard to resist.
It's like, instant gratification versus long-term rewards.
It's like choosing between a donut and a salad.
Yeah, exactly. The donut might taste amazing in the moment, but the salad's going to make you feel better in the long run.
So how do you avoid that trap of chasing quick profits? Because, I mean, everyone wants to make money, right?
Of course. But it's about, like, having a bigger vision.
Okay, so thinking beyond just the next quarter's earnings report.
Exactly. Define your core values and make sure your decisions are aligned with those values.
So if your company is all about sustainability, you're not going to cut corners just to save a few bucks.
No way, because that would undermine your entire brand.
And ultimately hurt you in the long run.
Exactly. And remember, building a successful business, it takes time.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, yeah. Focus on building something that's going to last.
Okay, so we've talked about communication, the dangers of quick profits, but now let's get down to something that everyone struggles with. Time management.
Oh, yeah. Time management.
There's never enough time.
There never is. So the key here is to prioritize.
Okay, so like make a to-do list and tackle the most important things first.
Yeah, that's a good start. And don't be afraid to delegate.
Oh, delegation is a lifesaver.
It is. You can't do everything yourself.
And then there's organization.
Oh, organization. I know, it can be tough.
Like my desk is always a mess.
Well, you know what they say? A cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind.
Okay, so how do you unclutter both?
It's about finding systems that work for you.
Okay, so like maybe a calendar or to-do list app or something like that.
Yeah, anything that helps you stay on top of things.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
So find what works for you and stick with it.
Exactly. Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something a little less tangible.
Okay, I'm ready.
Organizational culture.
Culture. What does that even mean in a business context?
It's like the personality of the company.
Okay, so like, is it a fun place to work? Is it serious?
Yeah, it's the values, the beliefs, the behaviors that shape how people interact.
So it's more than just like having a ping pong table in the break room.
It's about creating an environment where people feel valued and respected.
Yeah, where they want to come to work and do their best.
Exactly. A strong culture can be a huge asset.
Okay, but how do you actually build a positive culture? It seems like such an abstract thing.
It starts at the top with leadership.
Okay, so leaders need to set a good example.
Yeah, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
And then create opportunities for people to connect.
Exactly. Team building, social events, things like that.
So it's about fostering a sense of community.
Absolutely. And remember, culture doesn't happen overnight.
It's something you got to cultivate over time.
It takes effort and consistency.
Well, I think we've covered a ton of important stuff in this part of our deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
We talked about communication, the dangers of quick profits, time management, and building a positive work culture.
And how all of these things are interconnected.
Exactly. So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration of common business mistakes and leave you with some actionable takeaways to help you thrive.
Can't wait.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into business blunders. We've talked about a lot of internal stuff, but I think one of the biggest mistakes is neglecting the most important people, the customers.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, every business knows, in theory, that customers are everything.
Right.
But then it's so easy to get caught up in, the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, you lose sight of the big picture.
And then all of a sudden, you're not giving your customers the attention they deserve.
And in today's world, like with social media and everything, that can be really, really damaging.
Oh, absolutely. One bad review can go viral and just tank your reputation.
Yeah, so how can businesses make sure they're really putting customers first?
Well, I think it starts with a shift in mindset.
Yeah.
Customer focus needs to be, baked into the company culture.
Okay, so it's not just a department, it's everyone's responsibility.
Exactly. It needs to be reflected in everything you do.
And that means actively listening to customer feedback,
Yeah,
right?
well, for sure.
Yeah.
Both the good and the bad.
Yeah, because sometimes the complaints can be the most valuable.
They can tell you what you need to improve.
And it's also about empowering your employees to really take care of customers.
Yeah. Give them the tools and the authority to make things right.
So they don't have to, go through a million layers of bureaucracy just to solve a simple problem.
Exactly. Make it easy for them to make customers happy.
So we're almost at the end of our deep dive, but I want to touch on one more thing that's kind of related to customer focus. Risk management.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
Why is it so important for businesses to think about risk?
Well, imagine, you're setting sail on a voyage without considering the possibility of storms.
You're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, you're setting yourself up for disaster. Risk management is all about being prepared for the unexpected.
So it's not about avoiding risk altogether, it's about having a plan.
Exactly. What are you going to do if a key supplier goes out of business?
What if there's a natural disaster? Or a global pandemic?
Exactly. You got to have those contingency plans in place.
So as we wrap things up here, I think it's clear that avoiding business blunders is really about, having a holistic approach, right?
Yeah, it's not just one thing. It's everything.
You got to have a solid plan, manage your finances well, take care of your people, be open to change, and always put the customer first.
And don't forget about managing those risks.
Right. So if you're just starting out in business, or even if you've been at it for a while, hopefully this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Absolutely.
And remember, the business world is constantly evolving, so it's important to stay informed and never stop learning.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.